Welcome to Cravings Control for Fat Loss. I'm your host, Laura Cavallo, former sugar binger, overeater, and yo-yo dieter turned fat loss and cravings coach for hundreds of busy women. Here at Cravings Control for Fat Loss, I'll be sharing mindset, movement, and metabolism strategies for those who are ready to ditch the fat diet cycle and slim down without counting calories, tracking points, or giving up any of the foods they love. Get ready to embrace progress over perfection, grace over guilt, and bring curiosity and learning to the inevitable ups and downs of your life. Expect a decrease in your cravings while seeing and feeling an improvement in how you look, how you feel, and your overall quality of life. I am so excited you're here, boo. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura Cavallo, your cravings coach. And today I have our final cravings archetype. I am deep diving on Disconnected Donna. I'm going to share, again, her characteristics as well as solutions to help you get cravings under control, feel more confident around food, start to change your relationship with nutrition, and just feel better and more confident figuring this shit out. If you don't know your cravings archetype yet, hit pause and click the link below to take you to the free quiz. It's going to take you less than 2 minutes, and once you get your results, they'll be emailed to you. You can also come back to these recordings for a bit more of a deep dive into characteristics and solutions. These solutions that I'm sharing with you for each archetype are the same strategies that you're going to find in my 6-week one-on-one coaching pod program, the Cravings Code, okay? And the Cravings Code delivers up to 70% less cravings, hunger, and overeating, and will help you develop a better relationship with food, more control, and more confidence, okay? And in September, I'm going to launch the third cohort of it. The strategies in the Cravings Code are the same ones that have helped my one-on-one clients reduce cravings, reduce overeating, reduce occasional binges, and prime them to lose up to 10 pounds and 10 inches in 3 months' time. So the next round is going to be in September. If anything that I share today or in the next coming episodes, or you just want to learn more about cravings control and you're sick of feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, one day or 1 week you're good, and then by the weekend you're overeating and binging, you just can't get a handle on it, and it's been like this for years, the Cravings Code is for you. Go ahead and add your name to the no commitment waitlist below. When you add your name to the waitlist, you're just getting early access with included bonuses and discounts. There's no commitment to join whatsoever, but you do get on the interest list ahead of everyone else. Now, before I dive into strategies and solutions, I want to share more about why I created the Cravings Quiz and how you can use it. So over the last 3 years, I've dedicated my education, my coaching practices, and all of my tools and strategies towards helping women with insatiable cravings, constant hunger, and overeating. As a result of my own struggles that I've been through and the women that I've worked with and the women that I speak to every single day, I've noticed patterns and I've noticed commonalities as to why women crave, right? What their actual triggers are. Now, because as humans, we like to make sense of things in categories and organize things mentally, I knew that something like creating archetypes was going to help women understand their cravings better, get really specific with the solutions that they need. I knew that I could do that in a super easy and accessible way. And in under 2 minutes, with just 10 questions, by taking the free cravings quiz, you will have your cravings archetype, okay? And then you can really double down on super simple, actionable steps that you can start taking today. But beyond knowing what your actual archetype is, right? Like what your triggers are, because like, sure, that's great to know, but like, what are you going to do with it, right? We need solutions to help you reduce the cravings on overeating, right? So that you can feel more in control making food choices, more confident around food in different situations. And if you have a fat loss or weight loss goal, you can attain it more easily, right? Because you are not going to be able to have an easy time with weight loss and fat loss if you find yourself constantly overeating, constantly having cravings, nighttime, afternoon cravings, finding yourself binging occasionally. So the strategies and solutions I provide are actionable, they're simple, they're straightforward, and they span exercise, they span nutrition, and they span lifestyle. And all of this with the backdrop of mindset, right? Meaning, as you take action on these strategies, we're going to shift your mindset around food. We're going to improve your relationship with food. We're going to move you more out of that all or nothing thinking, that black or white thinking, that good and bad food thinking. Now, while knowing your cravings archetype is not intended to treat or diagnose any illness or disease, and this should not replace the advice of a doctor or medical professional, knowing your cravings archetype can help you feel more empowered. Okay, because you're not alone. You start to understand that cravings are common and normal. And most importantly, that there's fucking solutions, right? That there are actual solutions to what you're going through. Whew. I just think back to my years of dealing with this, and like it was so long, so arduous, and so it just like broke me down, and I just really didn't think there was any solutions. I honestly thought I was a freak, and I was so embarrassed, and I was so ashamed, and I didn't tell anyone. And then I heard other women talking about it on Instagram and sharing their stories, and I was like, oh shit, this is a problem that a lot of women face. So I hope that you can stick with this long enough to see some results and to start to see that cravings don't have to control your life, that food doesn't have to control your life, that you can live a life where you can enjoy social events and travel and nights alone without fear of overeating and, letting food take over. So 2 things to keep in mind before we dive in. While most of us have one dominant cravings archetype, you might find characteristics from others as well. So while you might be a dominant routine Roberta, you might have characteristics from Disconnected Donna. Okay. So these do ebb and flow together, right? But you are going to have one more dominant archetype. Okay. The second thing to keep in mind is that your archetype is going to evolve and change over time. So you might be a routine Roberta right now, right? But then in a year or 2, you turn into a Disconnected Donna. So just keep that in mind. Just know that this is flowing. We don't work in absolutes and black and white because you're an individual and things change. Hey there, boo. I'm giving away a $50 gift card to one lucky winner. To enter the drawing, all you have to do is submit a review of this podcast. Your honest review will help me get in front of other women who may be struggling and need a realistic and sustainable approach to their cravings and fat loss goals. Here's what you have to do. If you're a Spotify listener, click the 3 dots next to the follow button and under the cover photo and click rate the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, go to the homepage of the podcast and scroll down past the episodes and past ratings and reviews, and you'll find a purple text saying write a review. After you write your review, take a screenshot of it and send it over to me so that I know it's you and I can put you into the drawing for the $50 gift card. I will be taking submissions all the way through end of July, and then I will be drawing that winner and announcing it on the August 3rd podcast. Your review truly means the world to me. Thank you so much for taking 2 minutes of your time. It really means so, so much. Okay, so let's dive into Disconnected Donna. Disconnected Donna is all about mindset, okay? Your perception, your approach around nutrition. If you're someone that struggles with your mindset around nutrition, all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking, struggle with body image, this is going to be a big one for you, okay? Mindset is the bedrock from which all of our habits can sprout. If you don't feel capable of achieving or working towards goals, or you always have negative self-talk, or you feel really defeated and frustrated, that's the energy you're going to bring into your process, into your goals. And we really need to be able to reframe and shift our perception, shift how we're looking at things, shift how we relate to challenges so that you can feel more capable improving your mindset, improving your perception around food and relationship and people and things that are triggering you, okay? If you are Disconnected Donna, you might embody some of these characteristics. So you might be triggered by certain situations, by certain people, or even emotional changes, okay? You might use food to cope. You might use food to self-soothe. You might have a long history of yo-yo dieting or fad dieting. You might have started dieting as a young kid and you've developed sort of these unhealthy associations with food. Maybe you look at things as being good or being bad, or being healthy as being unhealthy, as being allowed or not allowed. And it's kind of created this splintered relationship with food. You really don't know what's right, what's wrong in terms of nutrition. You're really confused. You feel frustrated. You're grasping at any diet or protocol that comes along in desperation for results. In addition, you might be a type A. You might be a type A. You want to do things perfectly. You want to execute things at the highest level. There's no room for imperfection. There's no room for error. And you really hold yourself to a high standard. However, this can be holding you back because you aren't connected to what your body's communicating with you. You might just be going through the motions. You might be on autopilot. You might just have your eye on this perfection prize and you're missing all of these turnoffs right along your path. All of these things along your path you are missing because you aren't just on autopilot with one thing in mind. You may not be flexible. You may not be curious. You may not remain flexible in this process of nutrition. And in addition, your cravings might also occur in specific situations where you want to feel in control. Okay, so you can see Disconnected Donna is very involved. There's a lot of layers to her. And it really stems with her mindset, her approach, how she relates to nutrition, her body, and the people and the things around her. So I have a couple solutions for you. The first is I want you to reflect on your current relationship with food. Okay. And I also want you to think about where your current relationships stem from. So I want you to think back, and you can even grab a piece of paper, your journal. What are some of the early thoughts, ideas, incidences, things you remember from your childhood around nutrition, around your body, around diet? Just list those out. You can just, they could be one words, they could be sentences, they could actually be situations, they could be memories you have. List all of that out. You can pause me and do that. Now in that second column, I want you to draw an arrow to all of the thoughts and habits and routines and images and patterns that you are still maintaining and retaining. So draw an arrow from your past experiences to that now column. And now I want you to think and observe. You can even note next to each one, which one is a positive, helpful habit and which one is a hurtful or habit that's causing more resistance to your progress. So for example, maybe you grew up dieting. Maybe your family always talked about your weight, how you needed to lose weight, or you were overweight. And so your whole life you went through this shame and guilt spiral of always being overweight, not being good enough. And maybe you've used food to self-soothe, or maybe you've dieted down so much and now you have disordered eating patterns, right? What out of those things are you still maintaining? What things are you still believing? So definitely be aware of these things, right? And obviously I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I cannot coach you on how to address some of these childhood issues or traumas. But just creating awareness around it sometimes can really help you and be like, wow, that's really fucked up, right? Or shit, like I can't believe I'm still holding on to this like idea and thoughts that I had when I was a child. So create some awareness around this. I know personally for me, I grew up for a large part of my life overeating. We came from an Italian family and so we were always like stuffing ourselves, eating everything on our plates, even if we weren't hungry. And then there was a period where after my father died, we were on food stamps and food was really sparse, right? We would have to get food from my grandparents, and we were buying what we could from the grocery store with food stamps. And when there was food around, it was like, you better eat it all up. So we went from having an abundance of food in Italy and then being here in the States and kind of not having as much food. Both of those scenarios caused me to overeat, overindulge, want to stuff myself, want to not share my food, right? I always had like this FOMO of like sharing food. Like, no, I don't want to give away any of my food. There was like this like trauma response around it. There was always like food was in scarcity. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal that affected me into my adulthood. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is I want you to notice how you speak to yourself. Now, I want you to notice how you speak to yourself around food, around diet, around exercise, around your body image. You can even, again, list this out. What words come to mind when you think about yourself and your relationship with food? Are these mostly negative emotions, negative feelings? Do you have a healthy relationship with food? Are you noticing grace and flexibility in this process? Because that is what we will need. And a lot of these strategies that you'll learn in the Cravings Code, if you decide to join us or even listening in on the podcast, we really lead with grace and flexibility throughout this process, right? Because we are human, we're busy, shit happens, shit hit the fan. There is no time for perfection. There is no time for perfection in this process. There's only time for progress. And oftentimes when we move forward, progressing, it's not going to be how you envision it. It's going to be a little fumbled. It's going to be a little disjointed. It's not going to be the perfect plate. It's not going to be the perfect portion size. It's not going to be the perfect sugar-free thing. And perfect is in quotes, y'all, because there's no perfect. So we need more grace and flexibility. So how are you speaking to yourself? How are you speaking about your body? I remember my past version of myself, I was very judgmental about my body, about the extra fat around my belly, about my thighs touching. I have no muscle in my calves, right? I have a shorter torso, longer legs. I would just pick myself apart. And this stuff is really what propelled me to want to control my diet and really have negative associations with bad foods and hate how I look. And everything was about trying to change my body. And then as things started to change, as things started to shift, I was able to create a healthier relationship with food, a healthier relationship with my body, a healthier way to relate to my body. How you speak to yourself matters, right? Even after a binge or even after an episode of overeating, if you're saying, oh, you're such an idiot, why the fuck did you do that? You're such a piece of shit, and you're being derogatory to yourself, that is not going to cause you to be more graceful and understanding and flexible with your process and learn from it. It's only going to hold you back and make you feel more shame and guilt and make you self-sabotage more. So this is important. I want you to lead with more grace and flexibility in your process. And, there is no perfect eating. And I'll tell you myself, even after working on my own cravings journey for the last 3, 4, 5 years, I still have sweets almost every single day. I drink alcohol occasionally. I have bread. I have cheese. I have things that are quote unquote have been traditionally off limits on a lot of my past fat dieting. And I'm still good. I was still able to slim down. I am still strong in the gym. I still love and accept my body, even with adding those food into my diet. Again, that is a big part of it. As you start to shift how you speak to yourself, you can start to shift your mindset around nutrition, around your body, and you can have a better and healthier relationship with your cravings and your hunger and your overeating. And then the third strategy I want to give you is going to be an actionable strategy. And I want you to take imperfect action. So I want you to start creating satisful plates. Okay. I want you to start creating satisful plates, including lean, detox, and crave portion in all of your meals. And I want you to start to eat quote unquote imperfect. And the imperfect part is that crave food, that thing that gives you the yum yums. It's likely going to be a food that's traditionally been off limits for you if you've been a yo-yo dieter. I want you to get more comfortable with including these foods in your diet throughout the day and not making them so off limits, so we can start to shift your perception, your ideas, your mindset around food and nutrition. And bonus, if you can have a satisful plate within 2 hours of waking up, you're going to see that cravings, hunger, and overeating diminish drastically. Okay? So satisful plates is going to help you include more foods in your diet that have been off limits. It's going to show you how cravings can subside substantially. It's going to show you that it's not the end of the world when you have half a muffin or half a donut with breakfast. In fact, it's going to make that shiny object syndrome, that off-limit food, that thing that you can't have, it's going to make it less interesting. And it's just be like, okay, yeah, like I can have a granola bar with breakfast. I can have a bowl of cereal with breakfast now because it's part of a satisful plate. And now these off-limit foods, these foods that you thought you could not live without, these foods that you thought you were going to always binge and overeat, now you're eating them in a more moderate way. You're including them in a satisful way. You're not overeating them. And then you build more confidence. You build a better mindset, a stronger, more resilient mindset. So that is all I have for Disconnected Donna. If you took the cravings quiz, which is linked below, it's totally free, and you got Disconnected Donna, I want to hear from you, okay? Please send me a message on Instagram. Let me know what your results were. Let me know what you're struggling with, and let me know how you're going to get started with one of these actionable steps. So glad you're here. Cannot wait to share more with you, and I'll talk to you soon.